Sorry, my Streamlabs wasn't working, so it's hard to start the live stream, and that's caused the delay. Okay, but today we are going to be going over. Let me just change this to Unit 5. But we are going to be going over natural disasters, and it's going to be. There's like a lot of natural disasters, but we're going to focus on three main ones, and I'll just go over quickly of the other ones. But first, like always, we're going to start with a review. And today, if you have time, I will be trying out something new, and I'll be asking you guys questions, and hopefully if you guys have questions, you can ask me as well. So last time we learned about photosynthesis, which is the process by which plants make food using sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. Chlorophyll is the green pigment in plants that captures sunlight for photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide is a gas in the air that plants use during photosynthesis to produce oxygen. And oxygen is a gas released by plants during photosynthesis, essential for animals like us to breathe. Roots, plant part that absorbs water and nutrients from the soil. The stem is what supports the plant and transports water and nutrients. Leaves are the plant part where photosynthesis mostly happens. Flower is like the top part of the plant that helps with reproduction, and reproduction, like we covered last time, is just the more flower babies. Nutrients are substances that plants absorb from soil to grow. And then finally, sunlight is the energy source plants use for photosynthesis. And here is an image of the flower at the top, the fruit, which is the tomato, the leaves, and stem, seeds, and roots. And last time we also went over animal interactions and everything. And I think the last time I reviewed about predators, prey, food chain, balance in nature, and stuff. Oh, sorry, something just happened. So I'm not gonna go over that, but I do want to go over what are invertebrates and vertebrates, because I feel like that was a little challenging of a topic and we didn't get a chance last time. But vertebrates are animals with a backbone. A backbone is basically a bone in your back. That sounds very like repetitive, but it's kind of like your spine. That's what the backbone is. And vertebrates have internal skeletons. That means that they have a skeleton, they have bones in their body. And there's 5 major groups of vertebrates. We humans are also vertebrates, but because there's so many different types of animals and like birds and fish and everything in the world, basically scientists categorized the big group into smaller chunks and streamlined it so that we can easily find out when someone is talking about a human, they can find out that, oh, they're a mammal, they're a vertebrate, and so on. So it's easier for us to identify animals, right? And the 5 major subgroups of the vertebrate are mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. So you guys probably know what birds are. Birds are like what fly, like eagles, sparrows, penguins. They are warm-blooded. Warm-blooded means that they have, they're not like reptiles, which are cold-blooded. They like run hotter than they do run cold. And Other groups of these vertebrates include reptiles, like I was talking about. They have scaly skin, lay eggs on land. Amphibians, which are like frogs, they live both on water and land. And fish, which are cold-blooded, live in water, gills, and have gills and scales. The main thing is that these groups are these like five types of vertebrates are characterized based on qualities that these animals have. Mammals have hair, fur, and they give birth to babies, and the mom gives milk to the babies. And because of that, they have their own subgroups. Similar to that, we have all the other five subgroups, and here's an image of the different animals and some examples of the different animals, and you probably recognize some stuff like eagles, snakes, lizards, frogs, salmon, goldfish. Okay, so vertebrates are the ones with backbones, and then invertebrates are ones without backbones. And these invertebrates make up 95 to like around 97% of animal species. And they have exoskeletons or soft bodies where their skeleton is not really as like, they don't really have like a skeleton like they don't have bones like we do. They have like more of a they have like softer bodies. They don't really have skeletons. And some groups in invertebrates are insects, arachnids, mollusks, worms, and echinoderms. There are a lot of groups in invertebrates, so I think I just included the main types. But the point is that these insects have 3 body parts, 6 legs, are usually winged, and they're like butterflies, ants, bees. Arachnids are like spiders. Mollusks are like octopuses or snails. Worms are earthworms or like leeches. And echinoderms are like have spiny skin, live in the ocean, and they basically are like starfish or sea urchins that you can find in the ocean. So basically, to recap, invertebrates, it can be both warm-blooded and cold-blooded. Warm-blooded actually means that they generate their own body heat, while cold-blooded animals rely on external sources of heat, like a fire, to get warmed up. That's why their environment is different from warm-blooded animals, because warm-blooded animals, they can live anywhere. They generate their own heat. While amphibians and reptiles, they have to live somewhere, and like fish, they have to live somewhere that they can thrive in. And that comes into what we were talking about, animal interactions with their environment. How do animals live where they live? Like, why do they live where they live? It's basically based on characteristics or aspects, or like basically points of their like bodies that help them thrive in certain areas and die in other ones. And sometimes animals have adaptations, which means they change parts of themselves to better fit into their environment, to have a better survival rate, to like live longer. And those include like camouflage, sharp teeth, herding behavior, and other terms that we've discussed last time. Okay, so we're gonna go into the new unit, which is natural disasters. I think we're going to be doing a little bit more with that, this unit next time as well, because it is quite a big unit. I want to cover like weather and natural disasters and stuff like that. We're just going to focus on natural disasters today, obviously. Okay. As always, our quick question of the day is, if you only had 10 minutes to evacuate your home, what are top 3 items you would take with you? So you only have 10 minutes before a flood was coming, or maybe you have only 10 minutes before a volcano erupted, imagining that there's a volcano near you live. Just a hypothetical situation. What are three things that you could like not live without? What are three things you're gonna take with you? Are you gonna take your phone? Or are you gonna take like a computer? Are you gonna take your favorite toy? Are you gonna take maybe some jewelry? Do you want to take books? What are you gonna take? So just think about that. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but just think about what you would take, what top three items you would take. So if I had 10 minutes to evacuate, then I would take my phone, my favorite book, which is currently right now I'm reading a book called I Hope This Doesn't Find You, and it's a really nice book, and I would take that book. And then I would also take my keychain collection, which I've been collecting um, since I go to like a lot of places for vacation. I've been traveling a lot with my family. So I like to have a keychain for each place I visited. And I would take that because I have a lot of keychains and it's very like one of my prized possessions. So, why I gave this quick question today is that when a natural disaster occurs, you won't have time to really think about it. You would have time to prepare for it, but you would have to be quick to keep yourself and your family members and everybody else you know safe. And there's only like certain things that you should be taking um, just so that you have a higher survival rate and that you can live for longer if problems occur. So what are natural disasters? A natural disaster is basically a major event caused by Earth's natural processes that can change the landscape and impact human life. You can think of this as having too much weather or the Earth doing some spring cleaning. What does that mean? So, natural disasters are basically when there's too much of something. There's it's raining too much. If it's raining too much, then floods can happen, right? And if there's too many winds, then there can be like hurricanes, there can be tornadoes, and the good thing is that although there's like a lot of natural disasters or when the earth is kind of like breaking down, if you want to think of it like that, um, scientists can predict when these things are happening, and that's why in the news channels and alert systems can alert us beforehand so that we can prepare for these natural disasters. And some natural disasters include a blizzard. A blizzard is a severe winter storm with high winds and heavy blowing snow that makes it hard to see. Blizzards usually occur in more of cold places, so maybe not in India, maybe more of the northern part of India, maybe, but in the U.S., the blizzards occur in like New York, like in like Alaska, like around those areas because it is just more colder. Um, or in Russia and stuff like that, where it's also farther from the equator. Um, there are blizzards because it's cold and there's a lot of storm, a lot of winter snow, and because high winds and the snow combine together, it makes it hard to see and drive in the snow. That's why we have school holidays whenever there's snow. Droughts are kind of the opposite, where there's a long period of time where there's barely any rain. and that causes water shortages. During times like droughts, most areas basically they implement this thing where they limit the amount of water you use, so less showers, like shorter showers, more rationing of water. Flash floods are when a sudden rapid flood caused by a heavy rain in a short amount of time. So there's like a lot of rain, but it's only for like an hour or two. Heat wave is a long period of unusually hot and often humid weather. It's just a really hot. It's not a drought level, but it's very hot, very humid, maybe like very, very high temperatures. Hurricanes are huge rotating storms that form over warm ocean water with very strong winds and heavy rain. So strong winds means that the air is blowing really fast, there's a lot of rain, and it's happening. The important thing about hurricane is that it's happening over warm ocean water. So it happens out in the ocean, not on land. It forms over the warm ocean water. So even though it comes close to the land, even though it can come close to the land, it doesn't form over land. It forms over warm ocean water. Tornadoes are violently rotating like columns of air that like touch the ground, usually coming from a thunderstorm. And these mainly form over land. There's another type of tornadoes that form over water, and those are not hurricanes, but tornadoes or twisters generally form over land. And there's like a variety of reasons why these natural disasters happen, and we're going to be focusing on 3 to go over why they happen. Wildfires are large, uncontrollable fires that spread quickly throughout forests or grasslands, because like some areas, like California, have like a lot. It's very dry there. The grass is really dry. Even if a small fire starts, it can spread really, really large. Like it can like spread a lot and cause destruction to the land. However, some regulated fires, regulated wildfires, are actually useful for the land because it can kind of allow the soil to like restart, have fresh land, and rejuvenate it basically. So wildfires are good as long as they're done on purpose and with the intentional purpose, with safety regulations that the with safety like regulations. So avalanches are a large, fast-moving slide of snow, ice, and rock down the side of a mountain. You guys might have seen it like TV shows or movies where there's a bunch of snow sliding down big hills, and that's what avalanches are. And avalanches are kind of like landslides, but in landslides, it's just a bunch of dirt, rock, and mud sliding down a mountain or like a slope. And earthquakes, obviously, are sudden violent shaking of the ground caused by movement deep inside the earth. So, like the earth starts shaking and you can kind of feel it. I'm not sure if you guys ever have been in an earthquake. I think when I was really little, there was an earthquake near where I lived, but a lot of these natural disasters might not be as common where you live. Like you probably are not going to be getting an avalanche because there is no huge amount of snow or a mountain. So you're not going to experience a lot of these things, but it's good to know what to do when these happen. Tsunamis are a series of giant ocean waves, usually caused by an underwater earthquake. So there's an underwater earthquake, and this causes like large waves to form because like the earth is shaking, so big waves form. Volcanoes are the opening in the earth's crust. The earth has multiple layers, So the crust is the topmost layer where we live. So the Earth's crust, when it kind of breaks, or there's like a little opening, magma, which is kind of like lava, you can kind of think of it as lava. It's not actually like lava. And like magma comes from the bottom, and the volcano sprouts lava out. That's why volcanoes happen. Um, so again, natural disaster is a major dangerous event caused by natural process of the earth, often causing a lot of damage to homes and property. That's an important point. Evacuation is leaving a dangerous area to go to a safer space. Sometimes during natural disasters, the government creates safe houses and areas for people to evacuate to if their home collapses. Meteorologists is like a specific scientist who studies and predicts the weather. Seismic wave is an energy vibration caused by an earthquake. It's kind of what you feel when there's like the extent to which you feel when there's an earthquake and you feel the tremors. That's what the seismic wave is. Larger seismic waves mean like there's bigger vibrations and it's worser. The aftermath is the situation that exists after disasters happen, often involving cleanup. So after a natural disaster occurs, sometimes there's a lot of damage, and aftermath in that situation, people have to clean that all up so that they can continue with like their jobs. And the thing about natural disasters is that they can, even after they've occurred, they can happen again. Like earthquakes happen once, and once they finish, they can sometimes have like a waiting period, and then they can restart. They can like, even after everybody thinks, oh, the earthquake is all done, they can start again. They usually, and these are called aftershocks, when after the main happens, the top layer is kind of going back to its natural position, and there's still like a little trouble. So I know I just talked a lot about different types, and you might not have caught everything, and it's okay. This is just like an intro of the different types. You can see some images of the different types of natural disasters. The earthquake, see the building is collapsing. Volcano, there's lava coming out here. Tornado, it's like a little twister. Tsunami, big waves. Hurricane, strong winds on water. Drought, it's very sunny. Wildfire, there's fire in the forest. Landslide, you can see the mud falling on the house. Flood, lots of rains. I think this is an avalanche. They didn't label it, but it looks like an avalanche. So there's a lot of types of natural disasters like hailstorms and different ones, but tropical cyclone, but they're very specific to certain areas, so we don't have to really worry about most of them. So tornadoes, droughts, earthquakes, floods, windstorm, avalanche, volcano, forest fire, which is the same thing as wildfire, tsunami, sandstorm, hurricane, dust storm, snowstorm, thunderstorm, hailstorm, and a sinkhole. A sinkhole is kind of just like, okay, well, we didn't go over dust storm or sandstorm, but it's kind of just what it says. Sandstorm is like there's a lot of sand and like there's a lot of wind, so this wind like causes the sand to be picked up from the ground and start flying everywhere. Same thing with the dust. But a sinkhole is basically kind of like a big pothole in the road that occurs because of like the earthquakes. Usually, basically, sometimes sinkholes occur because of earthquakes. Yeah. So there's like a lot of different types of natural disasters. Yeah, so sinkholes occur because there's like the ground kind of collapses into itself. And this can, like I was saying, occur during earthquakes. So tornadoes. When you think about natural disasters, tornadoes are like one of the first things that come up for me. They're like a really big part of natural disasters, and they're very, very common, at least in the United States. Common-ish, I guess. You can't really define common, but a tornado is a violently rotating column of air extending from a thunderstorm to the ground. So it's like a big cone or funnel. You can think of it as a funnel that spins a lot and it goes over, covers like quite a bit of area. They can have winds over 250 miles per hour. And if you guys don't know, because you might use kilometers, 250 miles per hour is really fast. It's like 402-ish kilometers per hour. Yeah. So tornadoes come from supercell storms. I'm not going to go into what are supercell storms, but these tornadoes form because certain requirements are met in the environment, and that's why they form. And this include like there's warm or moist air and cool dry air, spinning air, and an updraft to turn the spin vertical. When these are all there, it causes the tornado to happen. Again, I'm not going to go into what each term means, but just that like when there's a different mixture of airs and stuff like that, like there's both warm moist air and cold dry air, and the air starts, and there's like because of a supercell storm, these tornadoes start to form. And basically a supercell storm, I'm just going to define it, is a very big thunderstorm. They're not like regular thunderstorms. They're very powerful and very, very violent. So they cause like a majority of very like violent tornadoes. Tornadoes basically come from supercell storms, or just think of it as like a large scale thunderstorm. That's basically what a supercell storm is. And tornadoes mostly come from that. And while tornadoes can happen all around the world, the United States, gets 1,000 tornadoes annually, and usually the tornadoes happen in the tornado zone, which is near Texas, near like basically the bottom-ish of United States, because there's a lot of warm moist air, cold dry air, spinning air, and like there's like a lot of storms there. In the case that there is a tornado, it's important to basically try to hide from it by going down to the lowest level so that you're not getting picked up and tossed around in the tornado and everything. So people usually go to a basement or a storm shelter. You have to hide under a sturdy table or anything to protect your head, because you don't want to get You don't want to have something hit your head. Basically, you would cover your head, keep in the middle, stay away from windows and doors, just because you don't want them to shatter. And here's some examples of tornadoes. Here's like a more of a close-up. You can see this is like a supercell storm. It's a very big, bad storm, and there's tornadoes coming from that. Earthquakes are the sudden shaking of the ground caused by giant rocky tectonic plates deep underground crashing, sliding, or pulling apart at fault lines. Okay, so that's a lot of terms. So like I was saying before, there's multiple parts to the Earth's surface, right? And the top part is where we live, is the crust. So when earthquakes happen, they occur because of tectonic plates in the crust, and these, you can think of it like little cracks kind of thing. I'm gonna show a picture of tectonic plates to help you. So you can see these little plates in the earth, or little like sections of land, kind of, instead of staying flat, they kind of bend and go underneath each other. They're all constantly moving, and if something happens, they kind of crash into each other, and they pull apart at fault lines, which are basically the intersection of these tectonic plates. And so the Earth's crust is like a broken puzzle of plates floating on hot, metalled rock. When these tectonic plates, or these like sections of land underneath the Earth's crust, like in the Earth's crust actually, get stuck while moving, pressure builds up until they suddenly break or slip, causing an earthquake. Earthquakes happen along faults, which are cracks in the Earth's crust, often near the edges of these plates. So faults are like cracks in the Earth's crust occurring near the edges of these plates, and the tectonic plates occur when the Earth is moving and suddenly pressure builds up and they kind of crash into each other. In the case of an earthquake, it's important to drop down to your hands and knees, cover your head once again under a sturdy table or desk, hold on to your shelter until the shaking stops. Obviously, stay away from windows or doors. In my school, we have earthquake and tornado drills. So in the case of an earthquake or a tornado, we know what to do. We usually hide under our desks because there's like a lot of kids there, so we can't really go to a different location. But we protect ourselves by hiding under big, bulky desks. So the destruction caused by the earthquakes is like a lot. You can kind of see some of these homes and how they're all ruined. One fun fact is that scientists measure these earthquakes on the Richter scale. That basically tells them how bad the earthquake is. And lastly, the one natural disaster we're going to cover is floods. A flood is a natural disaster that happens when a large amount of water covers land that is usually dry. They are caused by heavy rains, quickly melting snow, or when rivers, lakes, and oceans overflow their banks. So there's like a large influx or a large amount of water. That's when floods occur. They can also happen if dams are things that stop the flow of water to protect people or animals or like a certain area. And if these dams break, then all the water comes flowing out of the river or wherever these dams are built. And floods can occur in many places, particularly in low-lying areas near rivers or in cities where the ground is covered in pavement and cannot soak up all the water. So when the ground is not able to soak in the water stays in place, right? So then people cannot drive, they can't do anything, and that's really bad, especially if like the flood is just gaining speed, then that's really bad because people can get washed away. Or if the flood is like just increasing, more water, it's also very bad. Flash floods are the most dangerous type because they can happen very fast, sometimes within minutes, leaving little time to react when a flood occurs. It's very important to stay safe, always listen to emergency instructions, stay away from flood water, and never walk or drive through it because only 6 inches of moving water can knock you over and a foot can float a car. So only very little amount of water is needed for dangerous situations to occur. The top safety rule for floods is that water is often deeper than it looks. Even though it might not look as much, remember 6 inches can knock you over and a foot can float a car. It's important that you have to stay safe and stay indoors during floods. Powerful water. Fast-moving water is incredibly strong and can move cars, trees, and even houses. Flood water is not clean. It's often contaminated with mud, sewage, and chemicals, so never drink flood water. Nature-spun wetlands and trees can help prevent floods by soaking up extra water, acting like giant sponges. Like we covered in the last unit, remember how I talked about how roots can really help suck water for the plant? When there's like a lot of trees and trees have roots, they can kind of suck in all those water and reduce the amount of flood water in the area. So it's always good to have a lot of trees. And despite causing a lot of destruction, sometimes flooding is good for nature. It can deposit rich nutrients into the soil, making it great for farming. So a lot of these natural disasters, even though they're really bad for us and the environment, they can also be really good for the environment. Like flooding can deposit rich nutrients into soil. Same with wildfires, they kind of rejuvenate the soil. And here's some examples of bad flooding. You can see that it's almost up to their waist. You have to be very careful during floods, especially because with like telephone wires and everything, if anything happens with electricity, then people can get shocked because electricity can kind of conduct through water. So that was all of the 3 main natural disasters I was going to go over. We have some homework questions, but before I do homework questions, do you guys have any questions? Do any of the classes have any questions regarding the unit?
Yeah, Srinivas sir, my questions are on air. It's okay. Thanks. I think, yeah, good.
Yeah. So, let me just mute myself.
You stop the streaming, right?
Not yet. I just have to give them the homework, and yeah, I'll stop this.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, for the homework questions, we have, like always, we have some homework questions. The multiple choice. What causes the ground to shake during an earthquake? Either A, gravity, B, millions of people jumping at once, C, the movement of plate tectonics or tectonic plates, the earth rotating. So you have to choose one of these answers. Fill in the blank. A scientist who studies earthquakes uses a tool called a dash to record the vibrations. We didn't go over this, so I'm just going to take that out actually. True or false? Most earthquakes happen in the middle of tectonic plates. If you are indoors during an earthquake, what is the safest thing to do? So read over these questions. If you need to research outside of class, I recommend you do that because there's like a lot of points to these topics. So it's important that you guys are also kind of reviewing these topics outside of the class so get like a better picture because we can't cover everything in like 30 minutes. So tornadoes, multiple choice question is what shape does a tornado typically look like? A flat circle, spinning funnel, a giant square, a straight line. And tornado watch or tornado warning, you have to see which one is which, like match them together. You can kind of understand this one just by the wording. Watch is looking, observing. Warning, when weather condition, warning is kind of like when you can predict if a tornado is going to form based on the conditions. So I kind of gave you guys the answers, but try to match these up. And then the short answer, what are 2 common signs that a tornado might be forming during a thunderstorm? Lastly, what is a flash flood? A flood that lasts for several weeks, a flood that happens very quickly, often with little warning, when it rains just a little bit, and lastly, why should you not? The short answer is why should you not play outside during a flood? Why is it bad to be outside? So those are our homework questions. We're going to continue with this unit next class maybe. And